Hello, and welcome to Guys Dealings with Feelings, a podcast focused on men's health and emotional awareness. Jason, a licensed therapist with over 18 years of experience, and I being profoundly affected by the death of my son, share grounded conversations and practical insights to help men navigate modern life and with clarity and intention. What's up, Jay? One of these days I'll record that and just add it to the beginning so I don't have to say it every time and trip up. So today we're going to tackle self-sabotage, how we keep getting in our own way. And this is something I'm intimately familiar with. Um, I'm interested to get Jason's feedback on it. Kind of a therapy for me because I'm going to have very recent, very real examples of what I'm doing with this. Hopefully that'll relate to the listener. But, a lot of us think that self-sabotage is intentionally ruining our lives, but most of it's not obvious. It's procrastination, avoidance, pulling away from opportunities, starting things but never finishing them, and talking ourselves out of what we actually want. And in my case, talking myself out of what I know I need to do and I know is not impossible to do, but I'm like, I don't want to do it. The frustrating part is the most of us know we're doing it while it's happening. That's, like I'm saying, I know I'm doing it. We want to move forward, but something inside keeps pulling us backward. So today we're going to talk about self-sabotage, why we do it, what's actually causing it underneath the surface, and how we stop getting in our own way. And in the first section, what it is behaviors that work against our own goals, growth, or happiness. It's not laziness. It's quote unquote protection. I think it's what our mind thinks is protection, but it really isn't protection other than protection from discomfort. And I think that's what a lot of it is. I know that's mine. I get very uncomfortable doing cold sales, walking into a shop saying, here, this is what we do. I'm very confident in what we do. I'm very proud of what we do. Um, and I still I have a warm reception. I'm successful at it. And I cannot, to the point that I've shifted gears away from, and I found other reasons to affirm that decision, right? So I've talked myself into it, and it all comes down to I don't like the discomfort of walking in and saying, if it was to walk in and say, "Hey, how are you?" and talk about the stuff we talk about on here, like how are you feeling today? Have you gotten some exercise in? Have you tried different things? Have you read some stuff? Like I would talk to a total stranger about that shit all day, but you know, show your boss this and see if they want to buy it. For some reason, fucking cripples me. And so I could go on and on with that, but I
Yeah.
think the bottom line, we'll get to it a little later, but discomfort, I think, is a big part of what we're doing there. And just because something's comfortable doesn't mean it's right. We can sit in some pretty fucked up toxic scenarios and they're very familiar. And so we stay involved, we stay there because the unfamiliar sounds more uncomfortable than the miserable
You
known.
you
Uh,
know what I'm really attracted to, man. It's right. It's refining our language and refining concepts we use. So tell me if you can, why do you describe it as self-sabotage?
uh, well, obviously that's an adopted thing that I've learned through time,
Cultural
but
phrase?
yeah, it's a phrase that I'm familiar with, and I think that application, you may be able to tell us where it came from, but it's something we're doing to ourselves
Yeah,
from
see? Yeah.
preventing.
But the phrase in and of itself is a form of gaslighting. It's related to just a lack of information that we have around our system and the systems that we inhabit. Uh, so why would you do that to yourself? That's insane. You wouldn't do that to yourself. It's you would. It's better to say you're unfamiliar with pressure. Is a way of saying that pressure wall of discomfort. So it's better to say we're unfamiliar with our experience at the level of sensation and feeling discomfort than we realize. And we actually attribute it to a character moving through the world, fucking up. And we sort of attribute it to like a personality characteristic. You see what I mean?
Well, definitely decision making.
Yeah, well, yeah, we relate to it like it's a personality characteristic. See what I mean? Self-sabotage. I keep doing this to myself.
Hmm.
Okay. It just doesn't seem like that's what's happening to me. It seems like we don't know why it's difficult to move in the direction of discomfort. We're just not familiar with what that's.
So, but it is dodging discomfort, even in
It's unconscious. The why is unconscious.
maybe the why. Yeah,
Yeah, but so, because
dodging the discomfort's not
if you're
necessarily.
having that dialogue internally with yourself, so all that dialogue is happening because of an uncomfortable sensation and feeling in the body that you just can't relax.
Anticipated or in the current?
It's happening now, and you just can't relax it. So your system doesn't have the capacity to ease it, to relax the body in that discomfort. It doesn't really know what it is. That's why all that mental activity is happening. That's habit. It's habitual. That's the past. So what happens at the level of attention, all your attention moves up into story, thinking patterns, and I guess self dialogue, however you want to, like right now we're conversating with the self, like, oh, come on, you can do it. Come on. It's like, okay. But that's all happening because there's just simply a uncomfortable sensation in the body. It sounds so simplistic, but it is not.
Well, it makes sense. I guess my pushback on it is it feels like we are doing some conscious things. Your point is not is that these things are happening. It, it's confusing at that. So I get to I'm thinking, and you're like, yeah. Once you're starting to think, you're already in the what you're calling self dialogue,
You're already in the past. But, and
and that's crazy because it doesn't feel like the past. It even feels like the future because you're talking about what I don't want to go do. I
yeah,
don't want the discomfort that
yeah,
this is going to
yeah,
cause.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But the reason that that's happening, the reason we can't move in the face of that pressure is is specifically related to all the energy of our past experiences that haven't been integrated.
You say
So
integrated, is that
it's
processed,
yeah,
worked through?
it's actually related to a lack of capacity in our system to know what we're feeling and to relax uh, any agitation that arises. It's because there's still a lot of sort of backlog of life energy that needs to be addressed, allowed, right? It's a really hard thing to talk about, right? So like, let me give a sort of just a simple description of what happens when we have more capacity. You're driving to wherever you're going to have a conversation with somebody. There's a discomfort that arises, and you just simply stay in the car and drive and just relax and just breathe. Like you just have the capacity to stay with what you're feeling. If you don't have a capacity to stay with what you're feeling, then you're going to think about shit. So you start thinking about life rather than actually experiencing life because it's too uncomfortable.
And so what's going through my mind is there's I deal with some very uncomfortable scenarios and we'll walk right into them without hesitation, like you say, without dodges. "Yeah, here we go. This probably ain't going to be fun." And I'll do without even there's no thought, there's no nothing. It's just this is what we're doing. But then when it comes to this cold sales, I'm literally I say cripple myself because it's only me that's standing in my way. I've got the vehicle to get there. I've got the information to provide. I've got past successes to lean on. And instead, I'm whatever you're saying underneath the surface, something is boiling up in that moment. Whereas if I'm going to go do an interview with, somebody I've really looked up to and talk about some really hard shit, I'm like, all right, cool. Let's go do this. Like, why, so
Got it?
why,
So,
do you have
so
any
yeah,
explanation as to
yeah,
where,
yeah,
why, and shows its
yes,
ugly head
yes,
or
absolutely. Because at the core, It's actually really strange that any of us are interacting with each other at all. And so it's kind of weird that we're all here, alive, that we exist, we're actually interacting with each other. It's just strange. It's strange to be a human. So what most of our traumas are the karmic material that we collect, meaning the pain that we experience that's undigested is primarily relational. It's with people.
An interaction with a person that had a negative react, it caused a
That's what's
negative.
happening all the time for
So
us.
this is fear and all.
It's we're afraid of each other. But what's actually happening is we're afraid of the feeling
Right, right. Being
because we
rejected
don't know.
or
But that's just a mental interpretation. There's no such thing as rejection. That's for kindergartners. There's no such thing as rejection for a grown ass person. That's we're just describing energy through a historical lens. That's all we're doing every time. That's why we call it rejection because we're rejecting ourselves when we're in pain. We don't know how to be with what we're experiencing. And because we don't know how to be with what we're experiencing, we think it's happening because of the people and shit, the things in the world. But that's not it. We're continuing to be, we're bumping up against each other and having all these reactions and self-conscious experiences, you know what I mean? And comparative experiences, less than and better than. It's only because we don't know what we're feeling and how to be with what we're experiencing. And so all our life, we've actually been dependent on things outside of us to make us feel better. We've just never known how to do it for ourselves, how to just simply non-judgmentally be with what we're feeling.
yeah. I definitely have trouble with it. I do great in so many instances, and I'll be thinking I'm sailing the fuck along, dog.
The
And all of a
way,
sudden,
if you think of energies as different colors, maybe, I don't know, you might could think of it that way. Just for educational purposes, you know? And there are some colors we're more familiar with, we're more open to, and then there's some colors we're not open to at all. The system we will distract, resist, suppress, project, blame, and it will not reach to the level of conscious engagement.
yeah, it's a trip. And it, some of the
Yeah.
signs I think he's got a lot of crossover: procrastination, overthinking, quitting too early, avoiding difficult conversations, constant distractions.
And the avoiding difficult conversations would be better said, avoiding what it feels like when I have conversations
Yeah,
and all the things that come up in me when I'm engaged with another. And it can just be really strange.
and is there some? Um, it's all scars. So right, it's all scars from our past where we've had something that's an encounter or whatever that has caused, and then now we think we have a belief based on that, and then from that belief, the
Meaning there's a certain
subconscious feelings.
meaning now there's a this invisible rote thread between a feeling and a thought.
Hmm.
And then that's what we call a belief.
Yeah, it's a what? Yes,
We believe the thought that is associated with the energy, but we become unaware of the energy.
and so you call the belief the string between them.
Think of this. When people start talking about shame to me, right? And this is part of my experience as well. I had to bump up against this myself, right? One day I recognized, oh, the only reason I call that shame is because of the thoughts. Like uh, outside of that, it's just discomfort that needs attention. I don't need to name it.
How do you know what attention to provide?
That's a matter of capacity. So what we're working towards is always giving attention, keeping attention open at the level of feeling and sensation in the body. That's what we're working towards, to being totally open and non-resistant to discomfort at the level of sensation and feeling, right? That's what we're working towards.
Hmm.
But if we don't have the capacity to be with that discomfort, then we think about it. We escape up into the mind is a way of saying it. Not to sound like a separate thing, but it's just a way of saying it. So our attention escapes up into the past and the future. It's actually that mechanism is a mechanism of repression, avoidance, suppression.
Of the current by going to the past
Yeah,
and trying to use this
yeah, yeah,
string to connect.
yeah.
Well, this is why.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. And we've been taught to do that. So I mean, you can mull over that. We've been taught to do that. Go analyze it. Analyze the sensation and the energy. Not analyze it. Go
Just
experience it.
feel it. It seems so in practice. It seems so. I'm not
It's
even doing
simply
anything.
stated.
Yes. Well, and it's even when living it, because you are trained and have been doing so much goddamn thinking that you're supposed to just sit there and feel.
Yeah,
Well, how do I feel without thinking? And I
yeah.
know that's the meditation. That's where that comes into play. It's just so, you, sometimes I'll ponder,
Do you
am I doing
know?
all right? I'm just enjoying myself. I'm just enjoying the moment.
Yeah, you got it. Most of us don't relate to that to the practice of meditation as, at the deepest level, a surrendering into what is, being with what's actually happening, without having to have some kind of anchor like the breath or a thought or a mantra or something like that. The point is to be able to get to a place where you're primarily feeling your way through life, literally. But paradoxically, when we evolve into that space, then thinking's more clear. Like actually, all faculties open up in a more enhanced and evolved way. Faculties of discernment, intellect, they all open up. Everything, all our faculties are suppressed by the lack of processing of the past, of life energy that hasn't been integrated back into life. Uh, Everything is suppressed.
And depending on
Our
how,
faculties of creativity, intellect, discernment, connection, assertiveness, like we're muted.
numb.
We're really muted. We can't shine. We can't shine our light. Really, is a way of saying it. We can't be ourselves, express ourselves. Really collapsed in on ourselves, surviving this make believe game we need to survive. When actually, what we're trying to survive is our interiority. We're trying to stay comfortable all the time. We don't even notice what we're doing.
Hmm. Yeah, just trying to
That's
stay
what we're trying
comfortable.
to survive.
And I don't even see that.
There ain't no fucking dog eat dog world that you're not in a competition with 8 billion fucking people. That ain't how it works. That's a story. It's a myth. It's a bullshit, really. So the only thing we're working to survive is all that bullshit, all those bullshit stories, and how they've all how it's disconnected us from each other. But primarily, how it's disconnected us from our actual experience.
That's what I
So
was
we're
going to
really just
say.
trying to survive our interiority.
I was going to use a different word than survive and change it with experience. Um, because we don't know what's next, but or if there's anything, this could be the best part. This could be the worst part.
You're talking about what is being experienced right now.
Yeah,
I
what
got it. I got it.
what we're experiencing, and I think we should treasure it because it's a long shot that we even get here. And regardless of what's next, if it's better or worse, if we don't truly experience this, then we're not going to learn whatever the fuck we're supposed to be learning. And if we hit the dirt and that's it, then
Well,
that's
here's
okay.
what.
That you were fully experienced the
Yeah, but here's
the
what I would say. So we evolve in a direction. Uh, uh, our consciousness evolves in a direction where questions like that just actually become irrelevant. That is not even that They're not wrestled with anymore. And and then all that, so what you're experiencing right now becomes the main focus of attention. And when that happens, instead of everywhere else being the focus of attention, when that happens, we we run into some truths that that again make some of those questions.
Sure, and I think
You know what I'm
there's
saying by
yeah,
that?
yeah, no, I understand what you're saying, and I think that I don't know, there's a perspective shift in that language in my mind, and if I'm surviving, I'm just trying to get from one step to the next. If I'm
Yeah.
experiencing, I'm enjoying the
Yeah.
good and the bad,
And
and
this is it comes down, so when I work with people, here's what I do first. I'll say, okay, so let's when I say body, I ask them to close their eyes and I say, what I'm referring to is thoughts, feelings, and sensations, which is a very different notion of life that we're used to. So, what I say to people when I describe life, I'm describing in there thoughts, feelings, and sensations. I'm not describing out here. Your relationship out here is based off of your relationship in here. That's how it works. It's not the other way around. We've been taught it's the other way around. And when that switch flips, that's when we run into deeper truths.
right, and then what would your I guess advice is the word I want looking for, but what would your pointers be or advice be when one finds themselves with the signs, you know, the the what we're calling self-sabotage sounds
I
or
got it.
signs, excuse me, when somebody is experiencing those and they say, Jason, I feel like I'm getting in my own way here. And you know, I heard you and you say it's this disconnect and I need to get connect. What is it
Yeah,
that an individual is going to do to get on
gotcha.
the right get to
It's
walking on the right path?
typically um, the word that's most closely associated with what I'm going to say is discipline. But and what I mean by that is the ability to delay gratification or be uncomfortable and move anyway. You see what I mean?
Hmm.
So what I would say to people is it's really about being proactive, right? So what happens is that I teach people what it means to give their nervous system space every day to release what it's been holding and release what no longer serves it. Okay. Which includes stories and ideas, victims and villains. Uh, but we come to find out it's more complicated than we imagine. It's more nuanced. So I tell people what it's ultimately about is giving your nervous system a particular kind of attention every day. And meaning, so what they do is they sit down and they actually give attention to feelings and sensations. You just allow it, sort of feel as much as you can, as much as tolerable as you, I mean, as much as you can tolerate. And then I give them some tips and tricks of how to pull back when they get discomfort, when they get uncomfortable. Um, and come to find out, when we do that, it just naturally increases the capacity of our nervous system. So then it naturally makes us more able to move even when we don't want to. It naturally happens. Um, but you know, if a person is in the moment, they're identifying they can't move forward. What I would say to them is it's insanely paradoxical, but the first thing that I would do is sit down and focus on your nervous system, breathe. Procrastination is a nervous system that's overwhelmed. It just doesn't feel that way
Hmm.
because we don't know that much about feeling.
Yeah, we feel it, but it's misplaced or
It seems like a mental
misdiagnosed or mis.
process more than
Hmm.
you, right?
Well, it definitely feels like why well, work this out, like you said earlier.
Yeah,
Something. Let me
yeah.
work this out.
Let me, okay, I'm old man. Let me. Yeah, no. I mean, it's paradoxical. It's really about sitting down. So the fastest way to move forward is to sit down, right?
Hmm.
Now that's that's a nuanced statement because in any given moment, if a person's noticing a sense of frozenness, they can also move. They could also move the body, which would help facilitate movement, right? So the statement's nuanced, but just the most potent and profound way to increase capacity in our system, increase capacity for life, I mean discomfort, right? Is through sitting down and allowing the nervous system to move. And in today's world, ecstatic dance and movement are really, really popular, and are really powerful and potent kind of practices that help people get more, I don't know, man, comfortable in their body and stuff. But there's a lot of misconceptions in that community often, right? Um, because you can just keep moving and not address shit, you know?
Yeah.
So it's not just about movement,
Mhm.
you know?
So identifying, yeah, I've got something going on and I'm trying to think my way out of it. I heard
Yeah.
that's not going to be possible. So now providing space in your day moving forward to sit with your feelings and just experience them. Think meditation, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just the
When
thing
one's
about
looking for guidance and they can't
yes,
call us
yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah. The thing about that word is it's just become so confused, man. I've simplified it for people and I say just sit down and feel. And then if it gets too much, use your body. So then use your breath to relax. Whew, okay. And then just feel some more shit. It's really actually a process of surrendering into what is. That's a deeper practice than the vast majority of meditative stuff that we get introduced to in this culture. Through nobody, through no fault of our own. It's just how it's translated and communicated. Um,
It definitely comes with baggage, but I know that there are a bunch of tools out there that
sure.
if you use that word, you'll get the tools that you and I are
Yep.
discussing right now. And
Yep.
that is
Yep.
sitting, being
Yeah.
still.
It's definitely the direction to go.
Right. And then, as you progress in your meditation and you can begin to get into where Jason's talking about it, but I think just if you can identify these symptoms, say, heck, I need to give myself some time, which really a lot of this we're talking about is the same thing, learning to experience it. And then you're going to build some confidence in yourself. You're going to know that you can do A, that you understand the feelings, B, that uh, you've dealt with this already because it's going to keep popping up like with me in the sales. I know the shit's happening and it's just to me it's signs that I got work to do and it's signs that I'm not there and
Just
I
more
don't necessarily
space to grow.
yeah, I don't claim to quote unquote be there, whatever that fucking means, but I know I got work to do and that's the evidence I'm collecting. I've got to be and I try to be careful to not let that be me judging me.
Right.
It's
So
me identifying that there's just work to be
you
done.
got it. Now let me refine that just a little, if that's cool. Let me describe the word. Driving to a meeting and being in the discomfort that you're experiencing and being less interested in what you think about shit. So all that analysis and prep, it ain't what it seems it is. So it's really about just trying to breathe, stay grounded in your body, in the car, at the level of attention. And anytime your attention gets sucked up there like gravity. Makes sense what I'm saying. That if you're aware of what's happening, all that takes just to release that is to refocus on your body and ground back into the body. That's all it takes. But that is a matter of capacity and awareness, you know.
And I think, and what really made it shifted my perspective on meditation, again, not that I'm not where I need to be on it, but is that is training for what you just discussed. So learning to sit with your feelings as you're calling it, but even to listen to somebody talk about focusing on your breath or focusing on, whatever part it is that individual is telling you, when you work through that, it gives you the tools in the moment. I'm freaking out. I'm in my head. I'm spinning out on the meeting, to your example. I got this meeting coming up. If I fuck it up, I'm going to lose my job. Then my family can't eat, blah, blah. Take a deep breath and start driving the car. And the way that you can do that and to say, this is silly. I don't know what the fuck am I spinning out for? You've practiced. And then that's what the practice is. It's just like
Think
shooting free throws.
yeah, yeah, think of it just, you don't even have to think of it, just that's just a turn of phrase. I think most people, if they're really listening to what I'm about to say, will identify with what I'm about to say, right? So, the source of your suffering is the fact that you just haven't landed here fully enough yet because you just have never been taught how to do that, what that means, what role the body plays, what role feelings and sensations play in that, what the past is, meaning just undigested life energy, you know? That's the source of all our, so we just haven't landed here fully enough. All our attention is always somewhere else, somewhere else. And that's because the real environment in here is foreign territory.
Yeah.
It's,
Uh,
we're,
Yeah. And the disconnection is what lands us
yeah,
where we are. And
yeah.
we're protecting ourselves from what we think is failure or rejection or uncertainty or emotional discomfort. And to Jason's point, none of those are actually present. We've just got these feelings we're unfamiliar with, and we've got to figure out what the fuck's going on.
To just
And,
relax.
it's growth is always going to feel uncomfortable. Figuring it out is tough, and if you don't do it, you're going to be where you are today until you do. And we don't claim that this is the only direction that one can take to find comfort. Uh, it may be, I don't know, but we know this is stuff that works. And if you follow it, it's not just because a couple guys with gray beards are talking about it and they've had some personal experience. This is thousands of years in the making. Eastern medicine's where a lot of this is stems from. And if you can understand that you're trying to protect yourself, but then you really realize that you're not protecting yourself, you're harming yourself, and you're going to be, and when I say harming, you're just unhappy and you're not going to find it. You're going to be able to turn over every shell you find and not find what it is you're looking for. And it's the disconnection that we often talk about, to self and experience, and the feelings and emotions that you're having. And this whole series this season has been about that. And it's pointing out what those things are and bringing it back to this very
Yeah, yeah,
simple
yeah.
thing.
You touched into it. Essentially, here's what's happening for us. We relate to ourselves in a very limited way because we actually don't relate to life and to ourselves at the level of thought, feeling, and sensation. We just relate to life and to ourselves primarily at the level of thought,
So,
that's- right? And that's just painful. That's leaving a lot on the table.
yeah, and it's so hard on us because we've just been conditioned consistently from the time of birth until you decide to open this door and take a journey. Because uh, then they're going to keep conditioning us to that. That's what needs to happen. We need to be focused on the external. We dive into that ad nauseum in other episodes. But if you're seeing these things again, it's providing space for yourself. It's providing time for yourself to focus on yourself. If you've got to fix you first, or everybody around you will get less of you, and they sure as hell ain't going to get the real you because you're drained, you're beat down. Um, I know all these experiences and feelings, and I'm close enough to them that I can still discuss them, and I'm close enough to them I'm still experiencing them. And again, that is just a affirmation. You got more work to do, buddy. Keep on moving. Whenever you think, let's get comfortable and just kind of sit and resonate and,
And
and
think of it this
marinate.
way, right? All that all that avoided material, when you know how to include it in your life, it becomes the evolutionary catalyst for your growth every time.
And that's where the
We want
things
it.
begin to, yeah, that's where things begin to change. And that's
Yeah, we
where,
want it.
if
We
to
wanna be
do it,
uncomfortable. We
to
wanna
be,
learn what that means.
yeah, as an analogy, it's, you go to the gym and pick up weights and it sucks. But
It's
once you
perfect.
begin to see the results, you're like, oh shit, this is what I wanted. And, I do feel better and I do want to do. So anyway, if you've enjoyed this podcast, please like, follow, and share wherever you're listening or watching. Doing so helps us reach more men who could be positively impacted by this material. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcast, and all the socials under Guys Dealings with Feelings. And as always, we appreciate you giving us your time, your most valuable asset. And until next time, stay in the fight. This world is a much better place with you in it.